Scott, it's awesome to have you here at CPAC for American Thought Leaders.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Jan.
So you're involved in a very, very interesting project. I understand there's been a site dedication recently. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure can. Jan, we just had a site dedication ceremony for the National Desert Storm and Desert Shield Memorial, which is going to be constructed here in Washington, D.C., very close to the Lincoln Memorial and in close proximity to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
So can you tell me a little bit about the genesis of this?
I sure could. I'm the one that's guilty of that. Back going on 9 years ago, I came to the realization that most folks, not just even Americans, had overlooked Desert Storm and Desert Shield and its important lasting legacies. And very importantly too, the almost 400 Americans and the coalition members who died. And I found that they either didn't remember it or have any recollection of it all. They thought that it was a 100-hour war that was over with before you knew it.
It's almost like, because a lot of America, aside from the people who are military families, maybe weren't even all that affected, right? For most of the duration.
Right. Well, and that's a great point. That's a great point. And a lot of them, too, subsequently conflate this with the post-9/11 military actions, and these are two completely separate, distinct missions.
Right, of course. So, you've got the site dedication. Tell us a little, what is this memorial going to look like?
That's the big question at this point, Jan. We are working through the process of obtaining the conceptual approval, and then ultimately here, hopefully by the end of the year, the final design approval, so that we can go ahead and move ahead and continue, of course, to raise funds and then to eventually break ground. So that's an evolution, and we started this design essentially back in 2012, and it was kind of arrived at in a unique way that we elicited the feedback from numerous outside folks, veterans, family members, the public, and came up with something that tells that story that's iconic. So we've had to tweak that a little bit, and I think you can appreciate that it's a work in progress, for the simple fact that when you have a very prominent location like 23rd and Constitution, it's right by Lincoln, there are some concessions that you have to work with because it is so visible and it's so close to the National Mall. There are some sensitivities you've got to pay attention to. But we felt that the location was paramount.
More people will see it.
Exactly. So if you have the most beautiful memorial in the world and it's got a spire that goes up 60 feet, but nobody gets to it or nobody sees it, it defeats the purpose. So we're willing to make those concessions. And this is just a long way of saying it's a work in progress. We're working through it. We have some very seasoned 30-year professionals on the design team that are working through that. And I think that the public, not just here in the United States, but around the world that visit this, are going to be very pleased.
And I take it there'll be some kind of educational component to the memorial?
We look at this as a huge educational opportunity, given the fact that there are 34 countries from 5 continents that came together to liberate the people of Kuwait. So there's a tremendous opportunity to educate, and we look at this as will it educate not just now, but 50 and 100 years from now, so people don't lose this story.
So, when I think of Kuwait and the situation, I think a lot of oil fires. Is there going to be any imagery of that?
Yes, that's a great point. The two things, you bring up one of them. The oil well fires, close to 700 oil well fires were set on fire, sabotaged by the retreating Iraqi forces. And then the other very common imagery is of the gas mask. Remember how everybody wore the gas mask? I mean, that was a constant 24-hour situation. If you didn't have it on, you had it right on your hip. Those are the kind of the two iconic, visuals that that are out there. But yeah, I mean, maybe there's a way that we can do that. Maybe not so much literal, but maybe there's an abstract way to represent that, because it is very important. And we all breathe that smoke, and we remember how difficult it was to breathe with that black, acrid smoke in the air.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience and the CPAC participants?
Well, I'd just like to share that we hope that if you want to find out more about this, we've got a very robust social media, Facebook.
Fantastic. What's the website and what's the full name?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The website just be National Desert Storm War Memorial. .org, or the acronym, we'll pull it up to ndswm.org, and we would love for anybody to connect with us, and we want to educate and make sure that people know about this because it is important and it affects everybody around the globe.
Fantastic. Such a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jan. Thank you.